So for part two, we're going to cover more in depth precision rifle cartridges and rifle setups essentially. This is going to be, my most used PRS rifle for this year, and what I'm taking to the PRS finale is my 6 Dasher made by Mountain Forge. This is a production or a factory rifle setup essentially. All these components, like I said, they're essentially off the shelf factory rifle, but built in kind of a custom way. So you get the best of both worlds. I'm running the Leupold Mark 5 to 25, FDE or black, really doesn't matter. I like the FDE because we're shooting in the sun a lot, and I feel like it doesn't get as hot, or it doesn't warm up, and you don't have as much temperature variation from top of scope to bottom of the scope as it's heating up. Mil versus MOA, it's just a number essentially, but in precision rifle, whether that be PRS or hunting, other team matches, speaking in mils, you're going to get a lot further, and it's going to be a lot easier for you, as most of the guys out there are doing it. I even hunt with mils now. It's a lot simpler as far as numerical system goes and what you dial to downrange. PR2 mil reticle, it's been one of the most popular reticles that's out right now, one of the favorite reticles that's out. It was actually designed by one of my buddies, or a few of my buddies, myself. I was part of the design team for it, and we basically got to put together what reticle, if we could have any options, we would want in a scope for what we do, and this is what we came up with. Reticle selection is very personable to your eye. Not everybody's gonna like, one over the other essentially, but like I said, it's a popular reticle because it fits a lot of people's eyes. From there, I'm running a Hawkins mount. I run the Hawkins one piece on my PRS style of stuff because I like to bolt and put some accessories next to it. My NRL Hunter and my hunting rigs, I run 2-piece rings just for weight essentially. They both perform exactly the same, but this setup right now, weight is your friend, so I'm running the 1-piece weight with some accessories on it. I like to run, a normal style bubble level, as well as a send it level, an electronic level. Batteries die essentially, so if the battery dies when you don't need it to, or when you're unable to change it, you can always go back to the normal bubble. And sometimes my eye just gravitates to a normal bubble, so I always like to kind of run both. I like the flatline bubbles. I like the flatline, magnification knob adjustment. This is an MDT chassis made for Mountain Forge. It is unique to Mountain Forge for this production rifle setup, but it's an MDT ACC Elite or Premier Gen 2 chassis essentially. It's a Mountain Forged action with a 75-degree bolt, Mountain Forged Trigger Tech trigger, and the barrel is manufactured by Mountain Forge. They use a few different type of manufacturers essentially, from CRB, preferred barrels. They all shoot really, really good. The muzzle brake is a Mountain Forge muzzle brake. As you can see, there's a theme here, but I'm using these components because they all work very, very well. The bipod is a MDT or Sky Pod. It's a 2-pull or a double legs Sky Pod. I like it because it is very dynamic. So just shooting prone or off a bench, it's, you can get it to the level that you want. You can get it flatter if you want it to be, or, you can go up higher if you need more elevation. So it is very dynamic, and it also has the ability to cant, almost 180 degrees. So yeah, this is a great bipod for what we do. Another thing that's important with chassis and rifle setup, or even stock setup, is weights and where you put the weights and how you set them up. We want them to be, we set them up a certain way for rifle balance, basically where it would balance on a bag, but also for recoil management and sight picture management through that recoil. The goal is to, as you're recoiling, the rifle, and as the shot process is happening, if you can keep that rifle on target or as close to being onto the target as possible is the goal here. I use these little thumb pads right here, but I can also use weights as thumb pads to grip the rifle down into the bag. Another thing, magazines, extremely important. Magazines have come a long ways. I like to, for the Dasher and BR stuff, I run the MDT BR mag. It just feeds every single time, dirty, clean, it doesn't matter. There's other double stack, double feed options out there that work really, really well. And there's more options nowadays. I run this because I know what it's gonna do day in and day out. Another important thing is gonna be your support bag or your rear bag, or even a bag that does both. I actually like to use two different bags. I like to use a full-size lightweight Game Changer for my rear bag, but I could use it for either one. And then I use a heavier +2 Schmedium or something similar to this for my support bag, but I can also use this support bag for a rear bag and vice versa. If you can only have one bag, having some kind of a heavy support bag is going to be crucial. And the name of this bag kind of started as a game changer, and it really did change the game when it came out, because it allowed us to shoot in any position off of almost any kind of prop or circumstance or rock or tree, and be stable enough to make precise shots downrange. As to where we were using before is, it was just, we were using a sling to stabilize us or other kind of pieces of equipment or pieces of kit. These bags are crucial for this long range competition game. Now, I wouldn't necessarily pack in this bag for hunting if I was packing in, you know, the backcountry, because it is heavy. But for what we're doing, competition, PRS, NRL Hunter, similar matches to that, you know, this bag is a crucial piece of kit. Another piece of kit that's going to be helpful is some kind of a ballistic calculator. For PRS, the targets are known, you know, where they're located, the distance and everything, so you can input that before you're even starting the stage. So I use my Kestrel for that. NRL Hunter, the targets are unknown, you know, both location and distance wise. So I use a rangefinder with ballistics in them to give me live data as I'm ranging each target, as I'm finding each target, which has applied ballistics in it as well. There's a lot of good phone apps out there. There's a lot of good options out there, but just having something with a good laser, a reliable laser where you know exactly where that aiming point is absolutely crucial to being consistent downrange. One other thing that I wanted to mention is you do have to match your barrel specs and everything to the caliber that you're shooting, especially when it comes to twist rate. I like running a 7.5 twist for a 6mm. You can run almost any bullet that's available right now, the current ones that we're running, and it works very good. This is a 26-inch barrel. That's what it's spec'd out to for this production rifle. 26s are great, you know, for any application, essentially for PRS. If you're running a suppressor and you want to run something a little bit shorter, you know, 22 or 24 works great. And I even run up to a 28-inch barrel. So really, barrel length is not as important as you might think it is. It's just going to affect your velocity more than anything. But having a longer, heavier barrel does help you with more forward balance and forward weight. So it you know, just know that you might have to play with weights more with a shorter barrel. The 6 Dasher that I'm running, it's kind of stayed the same, you know, over the years. The bullet, the only thing that's really changed is the brass availability, or what brass we're using these days, and the bullet, essentially, because that's ever evolving. Having a good, reliable gunsmith, you don't want that to be a question as to why your rifle's not shooting. Having a properly spec'd reamer, all the reamers from Alpha, you know, they cut great. They're the perfect spec. You know, you do have different free bore options, so make sure you select the one that you want. I'm running a 155 or plus minus reamer on my free bore for the Dasher. Works great. Running Alpha Brass, CCI 450 primers, Varget powder, and Berger 109s. This has been the most consistent combination that I've used, and what I'm currently running right now. Running 41.5 grains of Varget. You know, my speed's right around 2860 feet per second. I've gone all the way down in the 2700s and up to the 2900s. That speed kind of works very, very well. You can push the Dasher a little bit faster or run it slower, like I said, and it shoots throughout that entire range. I like to, one thing about reloading and you know, putting together the proper bullet, I like to be able to jump. And when we talk about jump, it's the distance between the where the bullet starts to where the lands or where the rifling begins in the chamber, essentially. Some guys like to run that starting point a little bit closer. Some bullets like to be a little bit closer. I like to be able to jump it more if possible, if the bullet likes it, because it's gonna lower your start pressure. It's gonna lower your pressures a little bit, and I feel like you get a little bit more consistency over everything essentially. So running the 109 burgers, super consistent. They're not the highest BC for, you know, the 6 millimeter, but they're very, very consistent downrange. And that's what I like the most about them. The 105 burger, tried and true, shoots great. I've shot tens of thousands of those. I would run that in a heartbeat. And the 108 Elite Hunter, same thing. I've ran that for years. I could run any one of those three bullets from Burger. Hornady makes a great bullet, you know, both their ELDM, the 110A tip. I'd have no problem running those as well. There's other companies out there like Nosler that make great bullets too, but day in and day out, I trust this Burger to do what it's supposed to do every single time. The next rifle setup is going to be my main NRL Hunter setup. With the NRL Hunter, there's multiple different categories, multiple different weight classes. You have open heavy, which is up to 16 pounds. Teams is open heavy as well, essentially, and I shoot a lot of teams, so this would categorize that as well. You have open light, which is up to 12 pounds, and then you have factory, which is up to 12 pounds. Rules this year might be changing a little bit, but this is essentially my open heavier team setup. I can easily take this exact setup and put it into my lighter weight hunting stock, my MDT CRBN, and it would make that open light category. So the barreled action and the heart of the setup is going to be the same. I'm just changing chassis or stock setups essentially, and maybe some accessories to get down the weight. But I have so much room to play with. I'm even adding weights onto this open heavy setup. I add a couple weights on the forend, and it's mainly for rifle balance and also for thumb position and more of a grip, essentially when I'm shooting off of bags. 6.5 Creedmoor is what I'm going with and what I'm sticking with even into next year. I've ran that since the beginning of the NRL Hunter 5 years ago. I'm running Alpha small rifle primer brass. You can run Leupold brass. There's a lot of other great choices. 4350, pretty basic. I was running the 156 burgers. I hunt with these bullets and I also shoot competition with these bullets. If I could only have one bullet to do everything, it would be this bullet. For next year, I'm actually, and I have ran this in the past, is the 140 Elite Hunter. It kind of gives you a good balance between the two. A little bit less recoil than the 156, a little bit flatter shooting just in case your yardages are a little bit off or your ranging a little bit off, and still really good ballistic performance downrange. I like running an 8 twist. I ran 7.5 before, 7.75s. They all shoot really, really good. I like to run the lowest amount of twists needed to stabilize that bullet in all the conditions I'm shooting at. I'm running the same exact scope as my PRS rifle. It's the Mark 5 5-25 PR2 mil reticle. I can also run the PR3 mil for Hunter and for PRS really, but this is what I'm running right now. I always like to run a sunshade when I can. It's just protecting the front of the scope, the front of the optical glass, and essentially. I do run the competition dial turret system. You know, the numbers are a little bit bigger and simpler and easier to read because for NRL Hunter, we're finding, ranging, and engaging the targets on the clock. So, you know, fast, quick adjustments and being precise onto the exact adjustment I need to be is very, very helpful. I run the 2-piece Hawkins rings on this. The lighter weight rings brings the weight down. These rings do have a bubble that's integrated into the the top cap, and then I also run an MDT electric send it level on the side. So I do like to run both. This is a Lone Peak full rail titanium action, Bix and Andy trigger, CRB, Hunter profile, fluted steel barrel. We used to run all carbons for NRL Hunter, and nothing against carbons. But one thing that carbons do at some point or another is you'll start to get a string of fire essentially as the barrel heats up. Now, some of them might not do it for 10, 15, 20 rounds. Some of them do it a little bit more quickly. For hunting, they're great, but for NRL Hunter and for other type of competitions like this, I've just had better results and more consistent results with steel. And when you flute them, you get the weight down to where you'd be close to, if not at the weight of a carbon barrel. And like I said, the name of the game is consistency. I need this rifle to do the same thing, whether I'm the first shot of the day or the 100th shot of the day or the 15th shot of a long string of fire. I run a 24-inch barrel. I'm still able to get the speed that I need to meet power factor, but also have it light enough to meet weight restrictions. Mount forged muzzle brake, directional muzzle brake, and then MDT Premier Gen 2 chassis for the heavy setup. Now for my lightweight or open light setup, I run the CRBN lightweight Hunter stock from MDT. For NRL Hunter, I do, and if you can make weight with it, a triple pull is a piece of kit. It's not necessarily required or necessary, but it is one that's going to be very, very helpful because you can lay down prone, flat, no problem, but you know, we're shooting in more dynamic conditions and not everything's flat. So having the ability to have a front support that's not a tripod and some kind of rear support is super, super helpful. So from here, we can lay down flat, and then I can also go in all the way and extend this out. And now I have a system that can get above the ground or can manipulate any kind of terrain as needed. So like I said, the triple pull is not necessarily required, but it is a helpful piece of kit that's going to make you more successful, whether you're competing or hunting, if you can. You don't necessarily have to have the best glass or the best laser, but having one that kind of balances all and having a good ballistics, solver and a good app to input everything is going to be key. So having a good rangefinder with ballistics, so that way I'm able to find the target, range the target, and in the heads-up display of the binos or even the monocular, it spits out your data or your dope that I need to dial to for my specific scope, for my specific rifle setup, to be able to engage and be very consistent on that target. That is so crucial for what we're doing. And like I said, technology has come so far. So for you not to utilize that, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Another piece of kit is going to be a tripod. I use the tripod when I initially get down. I'm finding the targets, I'm ranging the targets. It's going to help stabilize my binoculars a little bit more so I can be a little bit more precise when I do find the target and range it. And then I also use the tripod for shooting a lot of times too. I can use it for shooting off the tripod, whether I'm clipped in or a support bag on top. I can use it for rear support. There's several different ways I can use a tripod, but it is an essential piece of kit that I'll always have with me for this type of competition, for PRS and for hunting. For NRL Hunter, we're not restricted on weight as of right now as to what we can bring and carry with us. So I like to bring, at least if I'm shooting as a team, we'll kind of mold both of our kits together. If I'm shooting individually, I like to bring 2 bags. Sometimes you just need more bags to build up a higher support. If I'm just shooting prone, I like my lightweight bag. If I'm shooting off of a prop or a rock or log or something, I like the heavier bag. It's a lot more stable. One more key piece of kit. that I didn't really cover a lot for PRS, but it's important for PRS, even more so for these hunter team style kind of fine range engage, more dynamic matches, is what you're wearing essentially. Right now I'm just wearing a t-shirt. You know, sometimes it's fine, but a lot of times I'll wear a sun shirt with a hood, keeping yourself, you know, protected from the elements, but still staying cool is very essential. You know, having a jacket as needed, good pants. If you're going to be shooting in a lot of terrain that's rocky or, you know, super hard, having knee pads is helpful. And then a good set of boots. I wear Crispies, I hunt in these, you know, I shoot matches in them. I can be in them all day and still be comfortable. There's a lot of good options, but having good, you know, footwear is even more essential, you know, for both for NRL Hunter, these type of matches, and for hunting. I have multiple different hunting rifles and different calibers, but if I could only choose one to do everything, it'd be this one, and this is the 6.5 PRC. I've hunted elk with it the last several years, all the way down to pigs and even coyotes even. So this is my go-to all-around favorite hunting setup if I could only choose one. I've configured this differently for multiple different applications, but as of right now, I'm running a 5-25 Leupold Mark 5. I also run the 3.6 to 18 and the 6 to 24 Mark 4, all great options. This is the TMR illuminated reticle in mils. You know, the barrel length, you know, having it shorter, lighter weight, more compact, easier to manage. We're a 20-inch barrel right now. So, and I'm able to still get the speeds that I want with a shorter length barrel, essentially. Muzzle brake when needed, like I said, or a suppressor. This is a Lone Peak titanium action, a CRB, you know, steel fluted barrel. It's in a MDT CRBN carbon fiber stock. Great setup for what this is. The weight on this system with optic is right around 8 pounds. The new MDT mountain bipod, super lightweight. Like I said, this thing's built for performance and lightweight without sacrificing anything. Cartridge setup really quick, ADG brass, Berger 156 bullets, H4831 shortcut powder. I'm running these bullets in a 20-inch right around 2,800 to 2,825 feet per second. I shot my elk last year at 750 yards across the canyon, and it went about 30 yards and died. So, you know, saying that you need the biggest, fastest, all this stuff, you really just need to put everything, all the right pieces together and make that good shot in order to have a successful hunt. So now let's go put this thing to the test and show you why this is my favorite setup out in the field. All right, so we're gonna show you guys a couple different ways to shoot and engage a target with our current hunting setups as it is with equipment and gear that I'm gonna have on a hunt in the field, and also show you guys why the 6.5 PRC is such an efficient option to engage almost any target at distance. So I have a target out there. I don't know the yards yet. I'm gonna use my binos essentially to find the target, range it, and it's also gonna give me the data in here. One way I can do is just pick this up and range it right there. The problem with this is it's not super stable, so the reading I'm getting might not be consistent. Another thing I can do if I do have the option is to throw some kind of a bag, my pack, if I'm gonna use a support bag to shoot off of, onto a tree or something nearby. That's a great option. Usually what I'll do is I'll have it clipped into my tripod, and this is typically going to be the best option that I can use available. So target is 696 and it's calling for 4.2s of mils of elevation. So right now, just kind of double check the surrounding and environment. It's almost dead calm, a little bit of left to right, but really I think the amount of wind out there is just spin drift, so the spin of the bullet flying through the air. The grass is too tall and the angle that I'm shooting at to engage the target from prone. I do have this log that I can use a front bipod and a rear bag. Whenever you can use that option, you want to go to it if you can't shoot prone. So I'm going to utilize this with this bipod and a rear bag. So I'm just going to lift this up to give me a little bit more height. on the right-hand side. I already dialed my windage in here, tucked in here. My bubble's good. My side focus is good. We're gonna engage the deer 700 yards, the first shot. Impact. So the next way that we can shoot this, say we didn't have this other section of log that transitioned like this and we just had one straight section of log, shoot directly off the log. And that would be, like I said, you could either still use your bag. I'm gonna fold up my bipod. And so if you had a pack you could throw up on here, if you did bring some kind of a lightweight shooting bag, you could throw this up on here. And like I said, this is gonna be essentially the last option that you'd wanna choose because you're gonna be relying on your fundamentals solely and the support of this bag to do all the work. But sometimes you need to take this shot, and knowing how to take this shot and knowing your limitations is definitely helpful. So I'm using, like I said, the bag, the rifle, me as rear support, and then we're going to engage the target. Okay. The other option would be to use your tripod. So let's come up here. So we could do this in two ways, and I've done this both ways, you know, in this, you know, hunting scenario. So using the log as a front support with or without bag, with or without pack, and using a rear leg of the tripod, you know, as your rear support. This gives you 2 points of contact. So now you're not relying solely on yourself or one bag to give you support for a good shot downrange. So, okay, you want to make sure this is in a good position. Steady, good fundamentals. Just over the back. Yeah. So that one, because I was in the best position, I was able to follow through the shot and see where the miss was. This rifle wasn't necessarily zeroed yet because we went straight into shooting, but you know, if I did have to have a follow-up shot, I know exactly where to adjust my zero. So now the other way that I would shoot this, essentially tripod only, which I've shot a lot of animals like this. Impact. And that one I was able to follow up with that as well. So realistically, if I could go in order of the positions that I would shoot this scenario with, obviously front bipod and rear bag laying down prone is ideal, not available here. Front bipod and rear bag kind of in an awkward position. You know, because of the recoil and because of the awkward position, after I fired the shot, I came off target. So I would say that's my third favorite. I'd say just clipped into a tripod is my second. Front bipod, rear bag, you know, even though it's awkward, is my third favorite, and just shooting off a bag only is my fourth. Let's take everything we've learned in this position and take it out a little bit further. There's a bear out there. Let's see how far it is. All right, so I got it out here at 1096, which is 8.6 mils up. I think my zero's off by a couple tenths, so I'm gonna go 8.4 instead. So let's try two of the best shooting positions that we used before. So we're going to go one off bag with rear tripod support, and then we're gonna go off the tripod only and see how both of them go. So in position, moving this down a little bit. All right, so I'm on target. Bubble's good, my dope style, side focus is good. Wind is good. I'm just gonna have a little bit more spin and I'm gonna send it. All right, so that impact was perfect elevation, just needed a little bit more wind. So for this one, I'm gonna clip into the tripod, lower it down a little bit. All right, so same exact shot, elevation, everything looks perfect. Clipped in, we're just gonna hold a little bit more wind on this one.
Impact.
Okay, that's it. That's how to engage like a smaller size bear target at 1100 yards with my exact hunting setup and the equipment that I use.